Blimey. This is one of a jam jar you got here.
Warning. The House of Mystery contains demons, angels, elementals, magicians, wizards, apparitions, adult language, and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not enter the House of Mystery.
All right, then. On with the show.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to the House of Mystery, the John Constantine and Friends podcast. I am Michael, your host and curator of the House of Mystery. Welcome to the grand horrors that are on display. Namely, I am naked today in the studio, and the demon bisexual butler is carefully trying to clean around me because he doesn't want to get too close.
Well, we got to give the room for the ghosts around the House of Mystery to have their room.
We need to give room to the ghosts. Okay. They don't have an actual physical form, David. I think you have forgotten how apparitions work.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
All right. So today's show will be a bit of a casual discussion. We are going to be talking about the upcoming John Constantine Hellblazer series that is being written by Cy Spurrier. This is something that we have been looking forward to for quite some time. Now, we weren't sure we were ever going to get this story, however, has been announced. Now, we did go over this a bit in a very excited, very casual form in our Oblivion Bar Patreon discussion, but I figured we should probably do a more formal discussion for our regular listeners out there that tune in episode after episode. So here we are today, David, and we are ready to discuss the latest news pertaining to John Constantine, the Hellblazer. And we have to start with number one. Number one is what I hinted at just a moment ago. Haunting the USA, DC's John Constantine crosses the pond in a new supernatural Black Label series. Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell return. That's the key word, return to the world of John Constantine in a new DC Black Label series that sees the character set sail for the USA.
Because that's the best place for him to go right now after what transpired in Hellblazer.
Well, I say return, David, because this is considered a second part. Now, I'm sure because the nature of comic book publishing and release strategy, as well as writing, I'm fairly positive that this will be written as a bit of a standalone as well, meaning you're not going to need to know all of what came before, which is only, 8 issues? Was it 8 issues or 12 issues?
12 issues.
12 issues. Now, I'm sure that you'll get a lot more context, but when you have a series that is separated by, 3 years?
Yes.
It's not strategically sound to release a series that's so closely connected to something that came out 3 years ago. So you'll probably see something like some creative writing that will help fill in some gaps and get the story going so that the readers that are just now picking up this new series will be able to follow along.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll read and say, okay, there's more to this. Let me do some research and find what's out there. Because there are a lot of new readers. When you think about 3 years, that's a long time, David. The comic book readers that were, let's say, 14, 15 years old are now almost adults. They probably have different tastes. So they might just now be discovering John Constantine. So this it's going to be interesting to see how they plan out the story.
And I think that Spurrier can do it. I do know that he's going to be bringing elements from his original run into it, like bringing in characters like Nat and Noah are going to be playing kind of like Constantine's sidekicks throughout the story. And I know Spurrier can actually cover the fact that he's going to bring little elements from his prior story, but make this story feel like it can stand on its own.
Yeah.
because he's very and Spurrier is known as a writer to be able to do that. Where
Well, look what he did with how he started the last series up.
yes,
He branched, or I should say bridged, various storylines and meshed them into one, and you really didn't need to know. And there was a lot of history there with
Yes.
some of those bridges, but you didn't need to know any of that history because Cy Spurrier is such an expert writer. He was able to craft that narrative in such a way that he said, okay, this is what you need to know in order to follow this story. Now let's move right into our
Yes.
story.
because the thing I really enjoy about Spurrier's writing, I feel, is like he's one of the few writers that is really good at doing this, is where he can bring elements from past stories into focus in his story, but at the end of the day, he still is able to stick to his themes.
Yep.
He addresses a well thought out and well formulated theme. That was the strength of Hellblazer, that run originally. The only reason why it felt almost like cut off in the very end was because everyone knew it got canceled.
And even that, David, I don't know if I would necessarily agree that it felt cut off because it was finished. The story he was seeking to write, for the most part, meaning the immediate threads.
Yes.
The immediate narrative threads, as well as the theme that he was working with, and the particular nuance that he was taking to craft this new version of Constantine, it was complete.
Yeah.
From beginning to end, we got a complete story. But there was that question mark at the end. Okay, what happens now? Now, for people just joining in on the fun here, now this upcoming series, I'm going to give you all the details on it in just a moment. But if you want to catch up, you want to look for the 12-issue series written by Simon Spurrier that has been broken up into 2 volumes. So you have John Constantine Hellblazer Volume 1 titled Marks of Woe. And then you have the follow-up, or the second half, John Constantine Hellblazer Volume 2, The Best Version of You.
Yes.
Pick those up. They're pretty much available at any bookstore currently. You will not regret spending the money. Read up on that and get ready because January, I want to say the first week of January, we will have John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America, which does pick up after that second volume.
Yes. And it's going to be, from all accounts, it's a new 8-issue series. So we can probably see that just like with the first run where it was broken up into 2 parts, this 8 run's going to easily be broken up into 2 parts.
You think?
Yes.
You don't think they're just going to throw it into one volume?
No, because like with 8 issues,
They would be milking it though. We're going to break this. We're going to break 8 issues up into 2. Come
But
on.
Would you be surprised?
Well,
nowadays,
we're talking about DC here, so
And you're
no, I
dealing-
wouldn't be.
and you're dealing with a black label issue.
Okay, so David, are these going to be supersized issues?
Yes.
Do we-
From what I understand, because it's
So
a black label.
not the standard 20-some pages. This is going to be maybe 40, 50 pages per
yes.
issue?
That's what I'm gathering from a lot of the intelligence that
Oh,
is
intelligence.
talking about like the
CIA,
the release of
FBI.
this. Yes.
They're
Inside information. But like
the Pentagon.
the Pentagon. But like the whole idea behind this is the fact that Cy Spurrier gets to quote unquote be unleashed because he's now on a black label. And that's what everyone loves about Black Label, is like that's where DC lets their writers do whatever
Did you say
they
Cy
want.
Spurrier Unleashed?
Yes.
See, that to me sounds like a comic book in itself that needs to be read
That needs to be read.
and written immediately. Yeah, David, I'm really excited for this. Now, the official press release, John Constantine returns to America in the new DC Black Label series, John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. The 8-issue miniseries will continue the story writer Cy Spurrier and artist Aaron Campbell began in their previous Hellblazer book. I keep hearing Aaron Campbell being brought up because he was the main artist, but there was another artist. His name was Martius Bagheera, I want to say.
Yes.
He also wrote, I want to say 2 or 3 issues, and I'm wondering if he's being brought back as well since he was a part of the creative team, I don't see his name on any of the marketing for the actual writing of the per issue, although he is doing a variant cover.
Yes, he is doing a variant, and honestly, I think that basically that's probably the most that we're going to get out of him, unless they decide to bring in elements from his stories that he did in Hellblazer.
Which I'm fine with, because typically, as we have discussed numerous times, I'm not the biggest fan of changing writers and artists in the middle of a storyline, which DC, that's a comic book thing. They do it a lot, and I hate it. Now, after, let's say, 50 issues or 30 issues, okay, change of creative team, that makes sense. But when you have new artists like every 3 or 4 issues, it's a lot like changing the director and a cinematographer in the middle of a movie.
Yes.
It changes the entire style, and it throws the reader off. I actually despise when they do that. Now, when it comes to Cy Spurrier's original John Constantine run or Hellblazer run, it was okay because they were creatively able, or I should say they were able to creatively create stories individually that actually worked with each artist.
Yes.
With their style.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Because also the way it was written too still connected thematically to the overall narrative. It wasn't like all of a sudden they brought in another creative team and the other creative team decided we're going to do this story out in left field where it's a branch off, because that's an atypical maneuver in comics where it's all of a sudden, okay, we're going to take a little break from the thing and we're going to do a side story of this character. Here, no, what they did when looking back at the series, I thought was really interesting was like when they decided to change up, quote unquote, the tone of the story, the tone shifted, but they still kept the themes going. It still was about Constantine, and it was still about, like him dealing with a new world that he, like a fish out of water type of element.
Mm-hmm.
Where I believe the one issue that they did that was different was the one that a different artist came in, was the one where they introduced the shit demon, where he was dressed he decided to dress himself up, and then he ended up running into the shit demon.
Yeah, that's what, if I was John Constantine, that would happen to me. That's just my luck.
You try to change your life, and nope, we're not going to do that.
There was also a different artist for, I believe it was Bergera as well. I have his name here. Let me not do him a disservice here. It's Matias Bergera, yeah. Or Matias Bergara, if you want to say it the right way. Right, David?
I think.
Oh, you don't know Spanish, right?
Nope.
You speak Tagalog? What's it called?
Tagalog.
What did I call it? Wow, that's awful. So he did a story with Spurrier during that run that was one of my favorite stories, was with the unicorn.
Yeah.
Remember the unicorn, and the art actually fit the story. So if they do stuff like that, I'm fine with, as long as the art doesn't throw off the reader or pull us out of the story. That's where I have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Spurrier and Campbell were, of course, excited to return to finish the story because it was abruptly canceled due to lack of sales, which is still mind-blowing. Hopefully that's not a problem we're going to have again. They referred to their original run as a poisonous love letter to Constantine and the myriad of creators who had worked on him. Spurrier called it their best work. And I would agree with that. I have read a lot of Spurrier's work. I can't say I've read all of it because he does a lot, but I've probably read about 70% of his work, maybe 65%. Is really good.
Oh, yeah.
He's a really good writer. And Aaron Campbell, his artistry, I've said this, it belongs in museums. His art is fantastic. And if you look at his process, we follow him on Twitter. His process is amazing what he does. He does canvas painting.
Yeah.
I believe he uses oil paints as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he will model him. He uses himself as a model. He'll use still photos, uses that, and then paints things based on how he's posing in order to get a more realistic, I guess you can say, grounded look, even though his work is very abstract. But in order to ground that abstract look, he uses real images of people and himself that he takes, and then he paints it.
Yes.
It's a very interesting process. And I know that's not entirely unique. I know there's probably artists out there saying, well, people do that all the time. But nowadays, and this is not to bash any artists out there because I'm open to all types of different styles of art when it comes to comic books. But I'm an analog type of guy. I think that's clear on this show. If someone were to tell me, do you prefer to watch this movie in 35 millimeter or digital, I'm going to say 35 millimeter every single time. And the same thing applies to comic book art. If we have a guy actually painting and doing traditional artistry for comic book art, I'm going to vote for that every time as opposed to this new digital trend. And I'm not against digital art. There's a lot of artists out there that do amazing digital art. But my thing is analog. I'm an analog type of guy. So I love Aaron Campbell's work. I agree with both of them that it is, in my opinion, if you were to say, let's say you want to introduce someone to Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell's work, the best source of that to get a good impression of what they can do is the Hellblazer run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that in itself was a complete masterpiece of a series. And that's why it was so frustrating to me to see them kind of get short series by DC at the last minute, because it was obvious that they were building to something really big for building out the universe of John Constantine, because he was in a universe that he was off by himself. And that was the amazing thing, was like, it was a callback to classic Hellblazer issues going back to the Vertigo days.
Yeah.
And then you throw it in with like the new way of writing with Spurrier. And I always feel I love Aaron Campbell's art because it reminds me of Alex Ross.
Oh, okay.
Alex Ross is another legendary artist in comic books that if you've seen, for our listeners who are big into DC's Kingdom Come, Alex Ross's art has become iconic with comic books. And in a lot of ways, Aaron Campbell's art were like, I know when we were covering it, we were saying this deserves to be put in a gallery because it is painting quality.
Mm-hmm.
That is up there with Alex Ross because that type of painting type of style.
That's a good comparison. I agree.
Is really there. And you kind of, it's one of those things that if I ever got a chance to meet Aaron Campbell, it's one of those things I'd ask him what his inspirations were.
Excuse me, Aaron Campbell. My name is David Zamal, and I do a podcast.
Exactly. A lonely podcast where I talk about having sex with Zatanna.
Can you sign this for me?
But it would be...
You're like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura when you're trying to get Dan Marino's signature.
But it would be really interesting to see if suddenly he would say, yeah, one of the names that is out there is Alex Ross. And I'm like going, yeah, I see it now. I see the influence.
I see it now. Thank you.
And I know we're in this very weird political, not political. We're in a very divisive age, politically, socially, culturally. It's almost a travesty that we haven't had an ongoing Hellblazer series during this time, because this is what Hellblazer has always done. The writers that have worked on Hellblazer has always used it to flesh out ideas dealing with politics, culture, religion, ethics. And right now, here in the United States specifically, where we broadcast from, this country is falling apart. I don't think anyone would argue, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, I think we can all agree that things are falling apart really quick. It is a fucking circus. So what better time is it for John Constantine to rear his head in America?
Well, you know what's amazing?
I expect a lot of political commentary in these 8 issues.
Oh, absolutely. Because like the thing that was really exciting when I thought about this series coming out, the original Hellblazer was steeped in politics of Europe.
Yeah.
When you look at it, it was set and established in England. So what did Spurrier do? A lot of his story elements had a lot of touching on the politics in England at that time.
Yeah, which we've got into
Got
up to
into.
what, issue 4 that we.
Oh, there was so many issues.
No,
where
I'm just saying that since we've been doing this show.
Oh, yeah,
never
yeah.
mind. Backtrack. I completely had a brain fart. Go ahead, David.
but like now that he's able to actually shift the environment for Constantine and bring him over into America, I am really anticipating that he's going to do like little political statements, as it were.
Maybe not, and maybe statements and is maybe the wrong word because I think I said the same thing. Critique society. That's
There you
what Hellblazer did best in its golden age. During the Vertigo era. That in fact, that's what Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell did with the 12 issues as well. They talked about much of the political contentions that were plaguing the nation in 2020 as well, which is still here. It's even worse, even more so, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the series always incorporated political elements, where they critiqued authority figures and powerful institutions. And it also commented on the abuse of power and how political decisions can have far-reaching consequences. I don't see a better time in history to bring that back to the forefront in a Hellblazer series. Obviously, it doesn't need to be a soapbox, and there may be new John Constantine fans that might be rolling their eyes thinking, well, I don't know if I want that, or I'm tired of woke politics. This isn't woke politics.
Yeah.
This is social criticism. This is political criticism. There's a difference between unrestrained activism, which is what we do get a lot in this current climate. We get unrestrained, oftentimes naive activism being put into pieces. And even though I may agree with some of those aspects, I find myself rolling my eyes and thinking it comes off as a little silly at times because it's a superficial understanding of the complications of human nature and the world that we live in. Whereas Constantine has always had the nuance to critique. It's not getting on a soapbox. It's not superficial. It's not naive. It's deep. It's philosophical.
Yeah. And it's not forced.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is like when it comes to people who write quote unquote woke agendas in their story, the reason why it turns into a woke agenda is because it's forced.
Because you lack skill.
Yeah,
If something you're doing comes off as woke, it's because you lack skill.
lack skill. You lack the finesse to actually make the audience focus on the story, not the
Yes.
message. The message should come out more subtly, and then by the end, they've
If you know how to write, it'll just come through.
yes,
It'll just come through, and we know that Spurrier can do that
oh absolutely,
because his first 12 issues, they were filled with social commentary. I mean,
And it
that
never
mermaid
once-
story to this day just sticks with me.
well, and it never ever you never ever hear anybody claiming that the past Hellblazer series was woke. What you hear is basically, man, you have a lot of political elements or political statements being made in that story.
Yeah, but I am bracing myself, and I think the rest of us long-time Hellblazer fans, we need to brace ourselves for those anti-woke articles to start coming out.
Oh,
Coming
no,
out.
absolutely.
And we're going to have to school them. I'm like, listen here, motherfucker.
Know your
There's
role.
There's a difference between, social commentary, social critique, and so-called wokeism.
Wokeisms.
Yeah. And again, I think it's kind of clear, David, for people who've listened to our show now for the past, 3 years, we don't necessarily shy away from woke ideology, I guess you can call it, meaning we agree with a lot of the political aspects in that spectrum, right? In the
Yeah.
left spectrum.
Yeah.
We're probably more like moderates if we had to actually pinpoint what we are politically.
Yes.
But we don't disagree with a lot of the liberal ideas. It's just the way they are fleshed out in today's movie market and TV market. There's just no skill. It's extremely heavy-handed.
There you go. That's the thing. It's heavy-handed.
Yeah. So we can all rest easy because this isn't a new writer. Because if they had announced this and there was new writers attached, I would be a little nervous, possibly a little cautious going in. But because we know Aaron Campbell and Cy Spurrier know what they're doing and they have a good handle on the character, there really isn't anything to worry about.
No, absolutely. Because that's one of the things I'm really excited about. When the first initial inklings of this series happening, one of the most important things was, to me, was, are we getting Cy Spurrier back? Because it's his story. If you were to get a different writer to come in, I don't think another writer would get the story across that Spurrier was making.
Well, yeah. Well, it wouldn't even be a story, really. Like, what? It would probably be just someone else doing something
else's
new.
take. Exactly.
Yeah. So, David, we were talking during our Oblivion Bar discussion on Patreon about variant covers and how we wanted to be raped brutally by variant covers. Well, luck has it that we will be getting at least 3 that I know of. 4 variant covers for the first issue. I don't know if they're going to continue that throughout the run. I hope they do, because I will buy every single one, because A, I love the art, I love Constantine, and B, I need DC to see those sales. So I encourage all of you out there to buy as many variant covers as possible so that we can get this renewed again.
Well, the thing I like about this, there seems to be a little of a strategy now with the variant covers, because
Yeah.
the thing that I really do enjoy is the artists they chose specifically tie well with Constantine or his mythos. Like, of course, we have Aaron Campbell doing one of the covers,
Which he didn't do one last time.
He did not. But the fact that he's doing a variant cover, the variant cover that you sent me, I mean, looks absolutely gorgeous. I think that is like poster worthy.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
that's probably the best cover.
That's one. But here's the thing: my favorite cover actually isn't his.
Really?
My favorite cover is Sean Phillips.
Okay, I like Sean Phillips.
Sean Phillips's cover absolutely speaks to me, because Sean Phillips is the type of artist that is tied to a lot of noir comics.
Yeah.
And detective comics, not Batman detective comics, but basically like the theme of film noir. And if you look at like a lot of his art gallery,
he's done other John Constantine stuff too.
Yes,
he's done Hellblazer Volume 4, Family Man, New Edition. He has done Hellblazer Volume 11, Last Man Standing.
But
dude, it goes on. Dangerous Habits. He did covers for
Yes.
Volume 5, Hellblazer, Dangerous Habits. So this guy has a long history with the John Constantine. And when I say the John Constantine, I'm talking about this version, the one that was ripped from the pages of Vertigo.
Yes. And like, but also thematically, it fits so well, because Sean Phillips's art for me reminds me of like those dime store noir books.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. He's great.
He is fantastic, and every time that he does a cover for John Constantine, it really hits it home about John Constantine, the character, as a detective. You get that sense that he's this grimy, gritty detective who smokes cigarettes constantly, and I love that theme that he brings. And as funny as it sounds, the Jock variant is actually really cool too, because when you look at Jock's,
I'm not familiar with Jock's work,
because he is more famous for the British comic books.
Okay.
2000 AD and Judge Dredd. He's from that side of the world when it comes to the comic book industry, that European side. And having him do a variant of John Constantine is actually really cool, because he does a lot of work in the 2000 AD side of comics where you have Judge Dredd, you have
Oh, he did a Superman American Alien.
Superman American Alien, stuff like that.
That was a solid read.
And
Batman Noir, The Black Mirror,
yes,
The Batman Who Laughs. Okay.
so
I am familiar with his work.
his art is really cool.
Yes,
I
it
like
is.
he uses a lot of shadows and a lot of like he sets like a really dark tone. Like if you read a comic set by Jock, you can probably expect some really heavy themes, heavy elements to happen.
Well, I'm excited to see what they do with this, David.
Oh, yeah.
Now, only 3 of them seem to be on sale right now, and if you guys can find Jocks out there, please send me. No, not Jocks. Barguera's. I cannot find Barguera's cover available anywhere online. Although you can pre-order, which I encourage everyone to pre-order. That's very important. You can pre-order Sean Phillips' variant right now through Things from Another World, which I'll put a link out there. You guys can order it through us, and that actually helps our show. There's also Jock's variant, which is still available for pre-order, and there's Aaron Campbell's cover also available for pre-order, which these look great.
Oh, they look fantastic. I as I said, the Aaron Campbell one is poster worthy. That's a poster that needs to be put up on someone's wall. If you're a comic book
and
fan.
then Barguera's is pretty cool. I believe that's Dream at the top and then Constantine in the center. That I can't find anywhere except eBay and other resale places that are already selling it for $50 or $80.
Yeah, because everyone knows that that's going to be really popular because you have 2 of the mainstays of the Vertigo fandom with Dream and Constantine. And that's the other thing, too, about this series that's really exciting. Si Spurrier is not just throwing Constantine into the mix, but he's also been allowed to bring in Dream and supposedly Swamp Thing. So you're getting the big 3 heavy. You're getting Vertigo's Trinity, essentially. You're getting the Vertigo's Trinity.
I wonder if Si Spurrier handpicked them. He had to,
I would
right?
be surprised because, like,
I mean, because technically, when you're the writer, correct me if I'm wrong. You're more the comic book guy than I. I mean, he's the creative leader.
Yeah, you're given a choice of things, and then if someone higher on the food chain says, no, I'm working on something with that character, then you get denied that right.
Because I know sometimes the DC, the publishing imprint themselves will sign.
Yes.
I know that for a fact based on interviews I've read and also my friend, but there are also times I believe where the creator does get to handpick his own writer or artist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm wondering if this is the case here because it seems like a very concerted effort to recapture Vertigo.
Absolutely.
Because of they didn't do this with their first round, and maybe in order to fix the problem, because I had mentioned during our Oblivion Bar discussion that hopefully they'll remedy the problem that happened with the original Spurrier run, which had to do with marketing.
Yeah.
The failure, not critically, financially, had everything to do with the fact that the fucking books were not marketed.
We're not marketed at all.
I mean, many of our listeners found out about Spurrier's run through us.
Yes.
Through us.
A podcast. Not DC Comics.
Yes.
A podcast.
And these are people who are John Constantine fans.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that things aren't being marketed to them in this day and age where everyone's phones are rigged with algorithms that will automatically push things that they know you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, for some reason, DC and all of their genius wasn't even able to utilize modern technology of the day to help push a book out there financially. So I'm wondering if Si Spurrier is taking matters into his own hand and trying to recapture the Vertigo brand.
I want to be surprised, and that's the one thing that had me really excited at first when they relaunched the Sandman universe. is a callback to the Vertigo times of comic book writing.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got it, but the problem was DC decided, we're not gonna market this. We have a Batman title that has to be marketed. We need to push the Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah.
We need to push Watchmen, Doom Clock,
Mm-hmm.
or Doomsday, instead of, hey, there's this historic moment where we're bringing back a idea that hasn't been seen since the 90s and the 80s in Vertigo.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe the marketers in DC Comics, Mike, maybe they know more than us.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, but maybe they do.
Listen, I can go in. If they were to hire me, I would fix everything day one.
Fire everybody.
I would fire everyone except the talent. All leadership would be given a pink slip. In fact, no, I would just. No, I'm not gonna. Nothing violent. Not
Nothing violent. Not violent.
No. I would go in there with a paintball gun and just like, boom, you're fired. You're fired.
There's your pink slip.
You're fired.
There's your pink slip.
A guy throws his hands up. I'm a writer. You're saved.
You're saved.
Because the problem isn't the creatives. The problem isn't the writers. It isn't the talent. It's the fucking leadership.
Yeah,
and if they don't remedy that problem beforehand, we're just going to find ourselves in the exact same boat at the end of this run. Now, I'm not complaining, but I'm a depressed, miserable person. So I'm already looking at the sad ending. Before we haven't even had issue 1 yet, David. I'm not even allowing myself to celebrate because I'm already looking at the end that, 8 issues and we're done. Let's fucking market this so we can have an ongoing, or at least annually, an annual Hellblazer. Let's say we get 8 to 12 issues every year. I would be okay with that. That's all we're going to be given. I would take it.
Yeah.
Would you take it?
Oh no, I would take that, especially if what Spurrier has been able to build with just one series now. The universe that he was built is so interesting, and now you're going to add to it by actually bringing in more elements of the Vertigo mythos in with Dream and Swamp Thing. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Let Spurrier cook.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. Now, typically, we are on winter break in January. But because John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America #1 goes on sale January 16th, just a few weeks away, we will be coming back early.
Yes,
to cover this.
They will have to actually install a new summoning circle for us.
Yes. We will be back early so that we can cover these issues. We're not going to we can't skip it.
No, we can't skip this one.
Yeah. Now, David, my original plan, and I believe we're going to do this, but I want to get your thoughts. What I would like to do is do at least one show prior to January 16th as a recap show. So we reread Cy Spurrier's run, and then we retrospectively talk about it again so that we have everything fresh on our minds, all of the content, the story, the character directions, the open-ended aspects, and we could use that a bit. I guess we can use that as a way to figure out what's going to be going on in the story. And of course, we'll just have that knowledge at the top of our heads. I got lost.
I was about to say.
Oh my God. Hold on a second. So I figured we do a reread and then we do a retrospective discussion, just as I guess more of a refresher for us more than anything, and then we'll at least record it because technically our listeners can just go scroll through our feed and find all of our past discussions on Spurrier's issues because we did an issue by issue analysis coverage on every single one of his of his issues. So I figured we come back maybe the week before January 16th, do a bit of a recap, and then that sets the stage for 2024. You think that's a good idea?
I think that's a really good idea because it'll give a chance for a lot of our listeners to catch up really quickly. And then, honestly, going back and actually looking at the entire story in totality, where instead of like when we were covering it, we were speculating, okay, what's the ending going to be? What's the ending going to be? Now we can actually look back and look at the story as a whole. There's no questions of like where the story is going to end. But now we can actually see and judge Spurrier's overall narrative. What was the whole point of the story? Because the thing I remember the most covering that, covering the series was every issue, me and you would actually be coming out of it going, oh, what are they going to do in the next issue? What could possibly be going on in this issue? Where is this going to lead to? And that was a lot of like what drove us in the very beginning. But now looking back retrospectively, it gives us a chance to really look at the story's narrative as a whole.
Yeah.
And really, really dissect it.
Well, we'll have a lot more. We'll have firmer footing.
Yeah.
If we have this information fresh in our minds, as opposed to just going in off of memory. I don't want to do a discussion like that where we have to second guess ourselves. So I want everything fresh. So I will definitely be going back. Whether or not we do a show or not, I was planning on going back and rereading regardless. But if we want to do it as a show, David, if you're up for that, then I think we should just record our discussion and put it out as a podcast episode that essentially launches our 2024 podcast season.
Yeah.
Okay, David, so moving on, because we're running out of time here. You sent this to me earlier today, and I'm not quite sure if I am advising John Constantine fans to quickly go out and buy this comic. I want to read it first before I suggest that you do so. However, according to a recent article, how John Constantine will die, according to DC, in a new Batman Beyond comic, DC Comics seems to have confirmed how the fan favorite sorcerer John Constantine is going to die in DC canon. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, David, this is the regular DC continuity.
Yes, because the thing is with when people look at the Beyond universe, a lot of fans, because of how popular Batman Beyond became and how it was beloved and that universe was literally crafted, a lot of fans, and now even like DC Creative, embrace that as that is DC's future. That's what it's going to be heading towards, regardless. It's similar like when...
But only when speaking of the regular main DC continuity. This isn't the Vertigo continuity or the Black Label continuity or the Sandman universe continuity.
This is the regular DC continuity.
Yes.
And like, it's very similar to how before Batman Beyond ever came out, how everyone saw The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was so beloved and well received, they said that is the end point for Batman. That has to be his end point.
Mm-hmm.
Batman Beyond came out, and it became such a fan favorite, and people started writing fantastic stories on it. And that ended up taking over that position of The Dark Knight. And now everyone feels Batman, the Beyond universe, is where the future of the DC universe lies. And when I saw this article, I was like, how did this fly under the radar on us? Because I went back and I went and I read the issue that they're talking about. And if that is how John Constantine dies, that is such a cool moment because it ties so well to the character.
Why does he look OG even in death?
I know. Because, like, at the end of the day, Constantine is still the same person, even if he's a man on his deathbed.
Dude, the way they drew him as an old man is actually pretty fucking cool looking.
Yeah, and the story, too, is actually really cool because the character in question that basically is tied to Constantine is this character of Kyle, who is this, like, meta hybrid human. And in Batman Beyond, you have meta hybrid humans that are part animal. right?
Meta hybrid humans.
Yes. And basically they're usually kind of like animal characters, like they look like a dog, they look like a cat.
Are they connected to the Green? Is that why? Is that how they're justifying this?
No. The Green has a totally different element to this.
Okay.
And like not giving anything away because I think it's a really worthy story for people to read if you're a Constantine fan. Kyle in the Beyond universe is Constantine's last you could say his last assistant,
Like a protege?
his protege.
Huh.
And Kyle, because he's the last protege, gets the worst of all of his assistants in the very end. Because everyone knows one of the ongoing themes of Constantine is he screws over everybody, whether he means to or not.
That's debatable, David.
It's debatable.
I'm a Constantine apologist.
But Kyle gets so screwed over because Constantine passes on his
Well, don't
own.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Just pull back a bit.
Without pulling out anything, Constantine passes on his
Curses.
bloodline
Yeah.
curse to Kyle. And
All right. Well,
and it's such a really sad story because and it fits Constantine because this isn't like Constantine hates Kyle, right? No. Constantine in this story really cares for Kyle. He feels terrible for passing this on, but he makes the most John Constantine statement that I think you would be cracking up at. This is probably the only thing that I'm going to spoil because they talk about this in the article that I was reading. He says, "If I die with all those curses on me, my soul will get split between hundreds of demons and thousands of angels." Kyle says his final words were, "Now stop the mewing and let me die," as he passed on the curse to Kyle
yeah.
so that
Sounds interesting.
he can actually die in peace.
So, David, what I'll do is I will go back and I'll read these. It's a 6-issue run, correct?
Neo-Gothic? No. Neo-Gothic is a long thing. This particular issue with...
I thought it's a limited series. Yeah, see, Batman
let me
Beyond
see.
Neo-Gothic is a limited series. It began publication in 2023, and it is a direct sequel to Batman Beyond Neo Year. Now, do we need to read Neo Year to follow along?
From what I read from Neo-Gothic number 4, which is the one with Constantine in it, no.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll read Neo-Gothic, and if I start to read and feel like I need some background, then I'll go back and read the prior series, but we'll cover this. If I feel like there's enough there, we'll cover this like we typically do when it comes to John Constantine-centric content. We'll focus on John Constantine and what he does in the story and why he matters in this specific story. Because that's typically what we do anyways. We don't do those traditional reviews unless it's an entire Hellblazer comic book. Then we do more of a traditional review. Okay, David. So that's something to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening here? I'm not used to feeling satisfied.
Well, see, we've been starved of Constantine for so long. Some things fall through the cracks, and all of a sudden DC goes, "Here you go. Here's some crumbs."
Yeah. There's also the Zatanna Ripper story.
That one too.
That was a reprint of the webtoons.
Yes.
So we'll probably get into that too. I don't know when we're going to have time for that because it looks like our schedule is filling up pretty fucking quick because we have the holidays coming up. I want to do at least 3 more shows before the end of the year. I believe we're going to close out our Spirit World discussion in one final episode or with one final episode.
Yeah.
And then I want to do Hellblazer number 5. I believe that's where we left off of the original Vertigo run, Hellblazer 5. Then I want to end the year with a deep analysis of the Hellblazer, the 2014 TV pilot.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
That's how I want to end the year.
Okay.
So we have a lot that we want to do and very limited time. So hopefully nothing will get in the way. Although we all know that during the holiday seasons, things can come up, but we will try our damnedest to stick to that schedule. David, this does bring us to the end of our discussion. I want to thank everyone for listening. Be sure to find our show pretty much. Actually, you can find our show pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search House of Mystery. We do prefer iTunes and Spotify because they have a rating system, and the more ratings and reviews that we get, it actually helps our show surface, and more eyes are able to locate our show. So thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you.